Well, for the most part, it's been offense. The guys, even when there are guys on base, and there have been a lot of those guys on base all throughout the New York series and in the first game against the Nats, they just can't seem to get them home. And they haven't been able to score runs. They certainly haven't been able to score runs in bunches, and it's been an issue. We thought it might be, and right now, early on in the season, it has been. So, we saw Ryan Sandberg try to juggle some things up in terms of the lineup, and hopes of getting the guys that are hitting the ball well, guys like Cody Ashley, Freddie Galvis, a couple more at-bats, and slide some guys down that have been struggling a little bit. So it didn't pan out last night. They're hoping that they get a different result tonight for sure.
Yeah, Murph, you look at last night. Let's start with Cole Hamels. He has, been very inconsistent. The long ball has bothered him. You're around him a lot. Do you sense that, his mind is, I don't want to say he's not focused or anything, but do you think that his name being brought up is certainly on his mind? That's a really difficult question to answer. I guess if you're just asking me to be, an amateur psychologist, I would say, yeah, I think it probably is. I would find it hard to believe that it doesn't bother these guys at some level. Cole has been on record and has said, and I couldn't agree more, he wants to win. And he doesn't think that's going to happen here. And that, that's his right to think that and believe that. So, yeah, I think it's probably in the back of his mind. But that said, he's been interesting. You use that word, and I think that's pretty good. He's been himself for short spurts of time, both in the spring and now in the regular season. But he seems to keep falling victim to the home run ball, and it's hurt him. And the team's not scoring a whole lot of runs for him either. So you put those two things together, and the results are generally not good. And that's the way it's been for Cole so far. Yeah, pair of solo homers for Cole Hamels last night. He balked and had that pickoff throw when on the balk there. It wouldn't have been as bad of an outing if he didn't get called for that. That led to a run in the fourth. Then he gave up that double. He looked a little unfocused after that. But, he has historically not pitched well in April. We'll see if he can get out of this month and shoot into the summer months, pitching a little bit better. Let's look at Howard last night. He moved down to seventh. Did you sense that he was very disappointed? Do you sense that there's some, I don't want to say tension brewing, but that that this is going to be a tough year for Ryan and a big year of adjustment? He looks like maybe a platoon situation, and now getting moved down in the lineup.
Well, I wouldn't say there's tension. I don't think that would be accurate. I mean, I think he's disappointed, but I think he's disappointed not so much of being moved down to the seventh spot. I mean, that's fine. He even came out and said last night that he understands why they did it, and I think most of us do. But he's disappointed that he hasn't been contributing the way that he believes he can, and the way that he has in years past. So he's putting the work in. That I can vouch for. I see him in the cage and taking extra swings all the time. It just hasn't panned out for him yet. He had a couple of good at-bats last night, and not a whole lot to show for it. He had the one-base hit, but, baseball, it can be a cruel sport, and it certainly has been for Ryan over the past couple of years. And, he came in the spring in such good shape, and I really thought his expectations were very high for himself, and it just hasn't happened yet. We're 10 games into the season, so there's certainly time for him to turn it around. But, they're going to give him a chance to do so a little bit lower in the lineup in hopes that he can figure some things out and, maybe produce some runs in the back end of that lineup as well.
Yeah, they need it. As you mentioned, they're struggling this week offensively. Gregg Murphy, part of the broadcast crew of the Phillies on Comcast Sportsnet, and the Phillies have that 3-game set starting with the Nationals. How about Chase Utley? He had the big night a couple nights ago, and people thought maybe he was starting to break out of this. He's 0 for 9 since that time. He's really struggling along here. What is your take on Chase? Is just as an early season struggle, or are you starting to notice that, hey, age is catching up to all of us, and he's not immune to it?
Well, I know age is catching up to me, that's for sure. But Chase, I'm not so sure. Ben Davis was with us in New York and was the analyst in New York, and I thought what he said was really interesting. He said swings like Chase Utley's, that short, compact swing that we've come to know over the years, they just simply don't go into prolonged slumps like some other guys do that maybe have a lot of movement in their swing, or a big leg kick, or a big sweeping swing. Oh, Chase has hit the ball hard. He hit the ball hard last night a couple of times. Just doesn't have a whole lot to show for it. I do not believe Chase Utley is something that Phillies fans need to be concerned with. Not yet. I just think it's an early season. I wouldn't even use the word slump. He just hasn't gotten it going yet, and I got to believe that sooner or later Chase is going to kind of balance it out. He's going to go on a tear, and he's going to get that average up to where we're used to seeing it. So there's some things to worry about with this team. I don't think Chase Utley's one of them.
Well, I hope you're right on that, Murph, and obviously he's a guy that fans have grown to love over the years, and hopefully he will be able to get out of it, because obviously this team is struggling along here. But one guy who has been performing looks like Cody Asche, who's really got off to a great start here. And what is it about Asche that gives you and fans should have some possible hope that this guy could possibly be a guy to build her with?
Well, I think we've seen over the past year and a half, almost maybe 2 full seasons that we've seen Cody, that he's a guy that, he's built in the mold of Chase Utley in so many ways. He works extremely hard at what he does. He's constantly, making little improvements to try and be a better player. What I think we're seeing right now is a guy, and I talked to him about this just the other day in New York. I asked him if he could put his finger on what's happening right now. He's betting, close to 500 through the first week and a half of the season. He said, honestly, he's just keeping it as simple as he can. He's trying not to do too much. He's putting balls in play. He's trying to hit them where they're pitched. He's shortened his swing. It's compact. It's staying through the zone for a long time, and he's just barreling up balls. And, he hit 4 balls last night hard, or 3 balls, I should say, last night hard, with nothing to show for it. But line drive outs, and Tom McCarthy on the broadcast even said even his outs are loud right now, and that's a good sign. So, he told me basically he's just trying to stay within himself and trying not to do too much, and I think we're seeing the results of that right now. He also joked and said it's baseball, so he hopes it'll last as long as it can, and then when it starts to go away, he'll have to make another adjustment, and they'll go from there. So, but it's good to see Cody getting off to this quick start, because traditionally in his career he's been a slow starter at the different levels that he's gotten to. But he got off to a pretty good start last year, off to a pretty good start this year as well.
Gregg Murphy, hopefully you have some more good interviews like you did the other day with Odubel Herrera, where you got to – is that the first time you've had to go through an interpreter to do the post-game interview?
Yeah, it was. In fact, with 1 out to go, I said to our producer, Jeff Allison, I said, hey, if he walks us off here, I think we need to interview him, but I don't know how I'm going to do that. I'm on Rosetta Stone, but I don't think I can conduct the interview the way that it needs to be done. So I thought to myself, you know what? I'll try to grab Juan Samuel, and Juan is just one of the real great guys in general, and he was happy to do it. So yeah, that was the first for me. Herrera has been fun to watch, and he's an energy guy in that clubhouse, and he's a terrific guy. He's slowly learning English, and he's getting better at it. I'm very slowly learning Spanish. So one of these days we'll meet in the middle and maybe be able to have a real conversation.
That'll be nice, and hopefully you get more opportunities to interview that young man, because he is a young player that hopefully the Phillies can find something with out of that Rule 5 draft. They'll play the Nationals tonight, yeah. Murph. That drive down I-95 has been very good over the years. It's been a lot of some very good games, but obviously these two teams going in different directions. Max Scherzer on the mound. How fun is it to watch him in person?
Well, it's pretty terrific, to be honest. We've been lucky. Lucky if you look at it from a baseball fan standpoint. Unlucky if you look at it from a Phillies standpoint. Some of these guys that we've seen over the past couple of days, we've seen Scherzer already. We're going to see him again tonight. We've seen Matt Harvey, Jacob deGrom up in New York, who's just a terrific young player. And, Doug Fister last night, their number 5 starter. Think about that. Their number 5 starter is Doug Fister. This rotation here in Washington is certainly something that they should be excited about. But, from a baseball fan standpoint, getting a chance to watch a guy like Max Scherzer is always fun. I hope he doesn't have his best stuff tonight, and I hope that Sean O'Sullivan does and comes out, and this game is close and competitive, and the Phils can snap this losing streak. That's what we're all hoping for. But, ultimately, a great game of baseball is a great game of baseball, so I'm looking forward to that.
Hey, Murph, how close is Dom Brown to joining the Phils?
Pretty close. He finished up his rehab assignment last night in Clearwater. He was 1 for 3. I believe he had a double and a walk in that game. He then jumped on a flight and went to meet the Iron Pigs in Buffalo. Lehigh Valley's playing in Buffalo this weekend. I believe, and I don't know this from any authority other than I'm kind of guessing, but I would bet he'll play those 3 games in the Lehigh Valley, and then if he feels good when that's all said and done, I wouldn't be surprised if he joins the big club back on Tuesday when we get back to Philadelphia.
All right, hopefully he'll be able to give him a lift, too, as well as he 4 for 14 with a home run down there on his minor league assignment so far. Gregg Murphy, we'll see the guys tonight as part of the broadcast crew in Washington as Sean O'Sullivan faces Max Scherzer of the Nationals, Gregg Murphy of Comcast Sportsnet and the Phillies broadcast team. All right, Murph, we'll talk to you next week, pal.
Sounds good. Talk to you next week.